Here is Section 1 of your faceless short story, based on the outline. Section 1. The Unexpected Guest. Tone: calm, reflective, and curious. I never thought living with my best friend and her boyfriend would change the way I saw myself. When Mia asked if her boyfriend, Jay, could move in with us temporarily, I didn't think twice. She was my closest friend since college. We had shared dorms, heartbreaks, secrets. Letting her partner crash for a while felt natural. And honestly, I didn't mind. He seemed respectful, kept to himself, and always offered to help around the apartment. But as days turned into weeks, I began to notice subtle things. Small changes in how he looked at me, how his tone softened when we were alone, how his laugh lingered just a little longer than it should have. Jay wasn't just Mia's boyfriend. He was confident, a bit too charming, with a kind of presence that made you feel like you were being studied when he looked at you. I told myself it was nothing. Maybe I was just overthinking things. After all, I respected their relationship. I wasn't the type to interfere. Or at least, I thought I wasn't. It was a quiet Thursday when everything began to shift. Mia had to leave town for the weekend. Her mother was unwell, and it was sudden. She packed fast, kissed Jay goodbye, hugged me tight, and rushed out the door. Just like that, it was just the two of us. That evening, I came home to the sound of music playing softly from the kitchen. Jay was there, sleeves rolled up, cooking pasta and pouring wine like it was date night. He smiled as I walked in. "Didn't want you to feel weird eating alone," he said, handing me a glass. I hesitated but smiled back. "Thanks. That's thoughtful." Dinner was normal at first. We talked about music, work, the usual small talk. But somewhere between the second glass of wine and the third laugh, something shifted. His eyes stayed on me just a bit too long. His compliments started to come layered with meaning. "You're not just pretty, you're interesting, easy to talk to." I tried to play it off with a laugh, but my heart was beating faster than it should have. After dinner, we cleaned up together in silence. The kind of silence that feels louder than words. When I went to my room to call it a night, I heard him pause behind me in the hallway. "Hey," he said, voice low. "Thanks for tonight. It felt nice." I nodded, unsure how to reply. I closed the door, leaned against it, and let out a breath I didn't know I was holding. That night, I couldn't sleep. I kept replaying the looks, the smiles, the way his fingers had brushed mine while handing me a plate. Maybe it was innocent. Or maybe it was the start of something I wasn't ready to admit to myself. I told myself it was just dinner. Just wine. But deep down, I felt the first pull of a line I wasn't sure I'd keep. Would you like me to continue with Section 2? Here is Section 2 of your faceless short story. Section 2. Crossing the Line. Tone: tense, emotionally conflicted, morally uncertain. The next night was colder. Rain tapped against the windows as if warning me. I spent most of the evening in my room, trying to distract myself with work, scrolling aimlessly through my phone. But I could still hear him, his footsteps, the soft rumble of his voice on a call, the TV in the background. Around 9, he knocked gently on my door. "You hungry?" he asked. "I made popcorn. Watching some old thriller if you want to join." I hesitated. Every voice in my head told me to say no. But my legs moved before my mind caught up. Sure. Just for a bit. The couch felt smaller than usual. Or maybe I was just too aware of the space between us. We didn't talk much at first, just sat there, letting the movie fill the silence. But somewhere halfway through, a steamy scene flashed on the screen. I tensed, and he chuckled softly. "Movies make it look so easy," he said. "Like passion just happens. No awkwardness, no overthinking." I smiled nervously, not knowing what to say. He glanced at me, his eyes darker in the low light. "You ever felt that? Like, something just sparks and you don't know why?" I should have said yes and turned away. I should have made it awkward. But instead, I looked back at him and said, "Maybe once. A long time ago." He didn't respond, just stared, like he was trying to read something beneath my face. Then, suddenly, his hand brushed my knee. I froze. "Tell me to stop," he said, voice soft. "I will." But I didn't. And before I could think, his lips were on mine. The kiss wasn't wild or rough, it was slow, measured, like he was waiting to see how far I'd let it go. And for a moment, I kissed him back. That moment felt like 100 things: curiosity, guilt, excitement, betrayal, all tangled up. But then he pulled me closer. His hand slipped under my shirt. I gasped, panic rising like a wave. He leaned in more, pressing against me, trying to take it further. His hands, his breath, it was happening too fast. And then he tried to get it in. But something wasn't working. He paused, frustrated, repositioned. And in that moment of clumsy desperation, it hit me, this was real. It wasn't harmless flirting anymore. It wasn't a secret thrill. This was betrayal. This was wrong. I pushed him back, breathless. "Stop," I whispered. "I can't. We can't." He blinked at me, chest rising and falling. "All right," he said, backing off. "Maybe next time." Next time. Those words echoed in my mind as I went back to my room, shaking. I stared at myself in the mirror for a long time that night. What had I just allowed? What had I almost done? I hadn't crossed the line completely. But I had stepped so close. I could already feel the burn. Shall I continue with Section 3? Here is Section 3 of your faceless short story. Section 3. Guilt, Regret, and the Return. Tone: regretful, anxious, emotionally heavy. The next morning, I woke before the sun. My stomach felt twisted, my thoughts in a spiral I couldn't stop. I hadn't slept much. Flashes of last night kept hitting me in waves. His hands. That look in his eyes. My silence. I avoided the kitchen, tiptoed around the apartment like a stranger in my own home. Jay's door was closed. Good. I didn't want to face him. Not yet. Maybe not ever. By early afternoon, Mia was back. She walked in with tired eyes and a hopeful smile. Her mom was okay, just a scare. She hugged me tightly. I froze for a second, then forced my arms around her. I smiled, but it didn't reach my eyes. "You okay?" she asked, stepping back. "Yeah. Just tired." "Long week," I replied quickly. Jay walked out of their room behind her, casually wrapping his arms around her waist like he hadn't tried to cheat the night before. He kissed her neck, made her laugh, looked over at me with unreadable eyes. It felt like I was watching a play. One where I was no longer the friend. I was the stranger in the corner, holding a secret no one else knew existed. The next few days were unbearable. I couldn't eat. Couldn't sleep. Every time Mia laughed at something he said, I flinched. Every time they held hands or disappeared into their room, my guilt gnawed a little deeper. But worse than the guilt was the fear. Fear that she'd find out. Fear that I wouldn't be able to pretend forever. Then the texts started. At first, they were innocent. "Jay, you okay?" "Me, fine." But then, "Jay, you've been quiet. I keep thinking about the other night." I didn't respond. "Jay, I didn't mean to push you. But it felt real. You felt it too, right?" I deleted the messages. But they kept coming. "Jay, if you want me to stop, just say it. But if not, I want to try again. Properly this time." My hands trembled. I wanted to throw my phone. Or throw up. He wanted to try again. I wanted to scream. At him. At myself. But most of all, I wanted to turn back time to before Mia left. Before I said yes to popcorn and late-night movies. Before I let curiosity crack open something I could never close. I started avoiding home as much as I could. Late nights at cafes, fake errands, lingering at work longer than needed. But guilt follows you. It doesn't care where you hide. One night, Mia sat beside me on the couch, scrolling her phone. "You've been different," she said. "Is everything okay?" I looked at her. The friend who trusted me, laughed with me, lived with me. I nodded, forcing a smile. "Yeah, just tired." But deep down, something inside me was already breaking. And I knew, the line I had almost crossed wouldn't stay untouched for long. Ready for Section 4? Here is Section 4, 500 words, of your faceless short story. Section 4. The second time and the aftermath. Tone: emotional, intense, reflective. It happened the next weekend. Mia had another trip, this time for work. A conference out of town. She left early Saturday morning, kissing Jay goodbye and promising to call later. I told her to take care, smiling like everything was normal. Like I wasn't burning inside. Jay didn't say much that morning. We barely made eye contact. But something hung in the air, thick, unspoken, undeniable. The apartment felt colder without Mia. Still. Quiet. That night, I stayed in my room with the door shut, hoping it would be enough to create distance. I tried to lose myself in a movie, music, anything. But then came the soft knock. Just like last time. I didn't answer. Another knock. And then, his voice. "Can we talk? Just for a second." I opened the door. He stood there, looking at me, not smug, not playful this time. Just serious. "I'm not here to pressure you," he said. "But I can't pretend like nothing happened. You know what I want. I know you feel it too." I didn't reply. "Just one time," he whispered. "And then we'll never speak of it again." I should have said no. Should have closed the door. But something inside me cracked. Maybe it was curiosity. Maybe it was loneliness. Maybe it was something darker I didn't want to admit. I stepped back. Let him in. And this time, I didn't stop him. It was quiet. Slow. Full of everything we'd been holding back. No talking. Just heavy breaths, shaky hands, and 1,000 buried regrets. I don't remember pleasure. I remember adrenaline. Guilt. The moment I let go of everything I thought I was. When it was over, he got dressed without a word. Left my room, closed the door behind him. Just like that. I sat in bed, pulling the blanket up to my chin, shaking. Not from cold. From what I had done. The next few days were a blur. I barely spoke. Jay acted normal, like it never happened. But I couldn't fake it. Not anymore. Mia returned midweek. Happy. Exhausted. She brought us snacks from the hotel, joked about the boring speakers. Then it happened. She was sitting at the kitchen table, scrolling her phone, when her face changed. Eyes narrowed. Lips tightened. "What is this?" she asked. She held up her phone. A message from Jay. A notification he must have accidentally sent to the wrong person. Or maybe fate just stepped in. Jay. She let me try again. It was worth it. I couldn't breathe. She looked at me. Eyes wet, voice shaking. "What did you do?" And I couldn't lie. I told her everything. The silence that followed was louder than anything I've ever heard. She packed her things. Moved out that same night. Jay followed her. I never saw either of them again. Now, I sit in the same apartment. Quiet, empty, heavy with memory. I betrayed her. Not because I wanted to hurt her. But because I didn't stop myself in time. And I've been living with that choice ever since. Would you like a full compiled version of all 4 sections in one file or story format?